Look at the lip and you're on the right lip. There we go. How that works is you fill the channel with 2 2x6.
Windy, and if you hear distortion, I'll do my best to act.
Now I would argue that that may not be OSHA approved standards for safety. Approximately an 1/8 mud. Don't get too carried over shower pan liner. You get this in before here, and I'm going to be extremely careful. I really don't want to light myself up. And expand. All right, here's our Barndominium project, and on the second floor, this is the main living room space. The ceiling is actually vaulted, and we're going to be putting in a couple posts and a beam across the top of the ceiling. We're going to do some shiplap and some other cool things. But in the meantime, I have this giant wall. It's all framed off on the sides, but this wall needs something. I'm going to begin by cutting in some windows, and we're going to make a lot of improvements to this view. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start cutting out some windows on the sides. We'll kind of shape out what we're doing for the doors. Then we'll put some triangles up top. So I'm going to begin with these windows behind us, well, behind me, and we'll just kind of go from there and get started. All right, so starting on this wall, we have to block off this beam. So when you do a Barndominium, you actually have to build the wood off of this metal so it has heat flex. That way when this expands and retracts, it doesn't tear the walls apart. So I actually need to frame around this beam to hide it. You don't want that in the middle of your room. But in the meantime, I know that I need that 5 inches of space between this beam and the wall. So with that in mind, it's 5.5 inches for a 2x6. So I'm going to come off a little further. I'm going to come to 8 inches. So let me grab my marker. All right, Beth, come on over. So I'm going to come off 8 inches from here, so I have a little bit of space. That's going to be my furthest section over. And by the way, this is my wife, Bethany. She's going to be working on this with me. So you can't see this in the video, but right here, this section is the center of this wall. It's actually midway through here. So we went ahead and marked off the door that we want to use, which is 72 by 80, basically a typical French style door or sliding door. So now we have from here to here to install this window. So the width of this window is about 49.5 on the exterior of this lip, but this lip actually bolts into the wood. We're going to cut so that the metal is just enough space for this lip to go through, but not too much for this lip. So what I'm going to do is measure the middle of this section. Beth, can you put it on that side? So the middle of this section is, we got 52.5. Okay, so 49.5. So 52.5, 49.5. That's going to be tight. If you put the frame right here, okay, you got 1.5 inches of space. So a 2x6 is 1.5 inches, right? So from there to basically here, it has to be exactly in the middle of that. So if I do that, that pretty much is exactly the size that I can fit. So now we just got to select our height. So if we're coming off this, we want it to be even on both sides. How high do you want it? 12, we'll go 12 inches? You want to go 12 inches? So if we went 12 inches, we would start here as the base. This would be the bottom. So let's go ahead and give us a couple points of references at 12 inches. Now, is that going to be too high? Okay, so what my wife is saying, Bethany, is that it would be difficult to reach the handle. So I'm going to set the window up here on this lip. And you're along for the ride with us. This isn't no organized video. We just plan with you. So here's the latch to open and close the window. If we bring it up to here, I can reach it, but she cannot.
It'd be a stretch.
So We're gonna wanna bring it down. We'll go ahead and do 6 inches because we have to fill this channel with 2x6s. So if we fill this channel with 2x6s, hold this for a second. It's gonna take us 2 2x6s to fill this channel. So technically speaking, for strength, we could actually put this directly on this channel and just do 3 inches. It'd be really strong base. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through this. You can watch us kind of struggle this, but we're gonna go ahead and mark for 3 inches for the base. And then I'm gonna start cutting the hole. So ignore the little marks here. They're going away anyway. So what you can't see, before I fast forward, is my wife can't reach up here to open and close that window. So basically, we're gonna fill this channel with a couple 2x6s to get it above this height. That way we can block off this section. How that works is you fill the channel with 2 2x6s, and then you build a wall. So see how it's bolted through here? That holds it real sturdy, but it allows for this little space so that you can put drywall on that lip. So that's essentially what that is doing. I'm gonna be doing the same thing right here, but I'm gonna be setting the window against that ledge. So think of it as a board, another board, and then the window is going to be sitting in there. Now the lip of this window, just like any other window, is going to be sitting on a 2x6 and then screwed through that piece of wood. The problem is the channel of the metal building needs to go between here, and it actually is a taller lip on the inside. So in order for us to set it in, we have to set this just through the metal so that this cannot fit through there. So that's 3.5 inches instead of 3 is this line. So we're gonna go ahead and draw our lines, and I'm gonna cut it out, and then we'll set it in there. Now, as you can imagine, cutting metal is a nightmare, but the view makes it all worth the while. So let's go ahead and start getting these windows in. So Bethany and I are going to take some windows out to make it lighter, because of course, the last thing you want to do is drop a window. These things are a nightmare to get out, it seems like. Then we'll get the screen out. Okay. Now the window should be substantially lighter. It is substantially lighter. Now, help me get it through there. Look at the lip. I need it on the right lip. There we go. So, is your lip through on that side?
This top corner is
Okay.
not enough. So
Okay, get on that side. Now I purposely made it tight for this reason.
Safety.
Safety. Safety first, people. Safety is very important, they say. I think. There. Now, hold on. I'm going to climb up here. Watch me fall. Oh no, people! Okay, so we're gonna flex it, flex it, flex it. No, because it needs to go down. So this is not the end of the world. I'm gonna get down and try not to fall off the building. And I'm gonna get a flathead. You can let go. I'm gonna get a flathead screwdriver. We're gonna get a flathead screwdriver. This edge is very, very tight, so we're extremely close. Now we just need to get a flathead and kind of pop the lip into the building, and then this window will be good to go. And then we can start framing around it. So we will do that, and we'll be back at it very soon. All right, this window is cut in and set in there. I still have to frame and screw it in, but this window is going to be the same dimensions on this side, and then just enough room to frame in a door here. So we're in good shape. I'm going to get my mask on, and you can watch the sparks fly. So let's get started on that. Hello, can you hear me? Now, I would argue that that may not be OSHA approved standards for safety, but nonetheless, we got to get results. So we're going to set in the second window. I will remove the glass pane and the screen, and we'll do exactly as we did on the first one. And then we will proceed to framing, caulking, taping, yada, yada, yada. So let's just get started and go from there. This one might fit a little better. I gave it a little more room this time. Huh? That's fine. Gives me some space. Yes. We're both very thrilled. When we get the triangle windows and the door in, it'll be even better. Okay, now I got to pop it in just like the other side. So if you can grab me the screwdriver, please. Huh? Actually, I got an idea. Hold this. So what you guys can't see on the camera is the serrated metal has a lip, and this is setting on that lip. If I were to tap that lip in and let it go in the channel, I wouldn't need to bend anything and it would fit like a glove. So I'm going to do that and just take my word for it. Because I have to do that on both sides anyway, because the outside trim is going to be similar to what we did downstairs, which of course they don't know, but I will show when I get an opportunity. But we don't want it to look like a steel building. we want to look like a home. So we didn't go with the traditional steel building windows that makes it look industrial. We don't like industrial. We like more residential feel. So henceforth, why we are doing what we're doing. So for those screaming at the camera,
We don't care.
yes, you're right. There are windows for steel buildings, and you're welcome to go buy them. I don't want to. So I'm gonna find my hammer if I can find it. Here, it's holding now. You can let go. We'll go grab our hammer. We need the hammer. All right. So we're gonna finish insetting this window, and then we'll get to framing. Can we not agree how tantalizingly exuberant the light in the windows have created such an ambiance of happiness and joy within the room? Yes, the windows are now officially framed to an extent. We have them installed and framed in so they're not going anywhere and they won't leak. However, in a weird series of events within Wyoming, how strange that it's so windy today. Well, anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and call this a quits for now. And we're gonna look into what we're gonna do next. I think in that middle section, we're gonna frame in a 72 by 80 French door that is all glass. Maybe a couple triangles on the upper section, and then continue framing this wall to the way we like it. But before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how these windows work on steel buildings by showing you a completed window downstairs in the lower complete section, and how they're kind of trimmed in on the outside of the building. So for now, these things are in good shape. We're gonna go ahead and make sure everything is buttoned down in the hatch for the wind. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. So let me go check that out and I'll be right back. All right, so we're downstairs in the finished completed area. For the most part, I gotta do some caulking on this window, but this is a complete window. And what you actually see is it's a very deep window well. The reason being, metal buildings have metal sheeting, right? So they have metal framing, metal sheeting, and you can't actually attach the metal sheeting to the framing of the house because it'll actually have thermal expansion and rip the metal and the screws from the wood framing. So you actually have to build a barrier between the two. So use 2x6 framing. It's just, it's better for insulation. And go ahead and leave like a 2-inch barrier for thermal expansion. The positive there is you can actually fit very thick insulation to keep it very warm. But what you do is you basically do the 2x6 framing, and the only section that is actually out to the metal portion is around the frame of the window. That allows you to screw the window where the lip is into the framing directly rather than nothing to attach to. Otherwise the window flops in there. It won't be able to attach. So around windows, you have it actually going all the way out, but everything else needs a lot of thermal expansion space. Now, when you have everything screwed in, it's no different than a stick-built house. You use the asphalt tape around the outer edge to make sure it's nice and sealed. And then I'll show you outside what that trim actually looks like here in a moment. And on the inside, you can go ahead and caulk around the inside of the window and then add whatever trim you like for finishing touches. So yeah, let's go ahead and go outside and I'll show you how that looks. Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so we're outside. It's extremely windy, and if you hear distortion, I'll do my best to add, the audio or remove whatever's going on. But this is the outside view of the windows, and I'm pretty happy with it. These windows are going to be changed out with the ones that we have upstairs to make it look more universal, and they're better quality windows. But these ones were what we had for now, so we went with them. We went with the traditional trim around it, and what you actually have to do is, as I said, when you screw it in, you put the asphalt tape around it, seal everything really nice, and then you cut yourself some 2x4 trim or whatever you want to do. Sand it up, trim it up, caulk it up, paint it, make it look beautiful. So this is how it looks and how we're planning on going with all of our windows. Maybe this summer I'll show you how I change them out after they've already been installed, but this is a more traditional home-like look for a window rather than a steel building industrial look where they have the C-channel, which the C-channel, it may look okay to some people, but we personally didn't like it. So anyway, this is what you see from the outside. I'm going to go ahead and go upstairs and go from there. All right, and so a little clarification on what I'm talking about for a steel building. You can actually see the insulation in here. I'm going to stuff 2 R30s through this wall. If you come over here, We don't like to tear out these beams. A lot of people actually rip that stuff out of there, which, you know, that destroys the structure of the building. You can also build in a frame inside the building, but then you lose a lot of space. So what we actually do is we build it like this around the framing. It gives plenty of space for drywall. And then here's a window section that will be going in, obviously. And as you see, it's off the building a bit. That way you have thermal expansion and it doesn't rip anything out. However, when we frame this out, there will be boards going up to the window so that the window has something to screw to. So we got a lot to do, but let's go ahead and look at where we're at and go from there. All right, here's an outside perspective of the building. We have a couple windows downstairs and the two that we installed upstairs. And from an outside view, you see the asphalt paper. I don't have it trimmed out yet because it is, you know, it's just not that time of year, and I'm gonna need to get up there with the deck, second story deck, maybe a scissor lift that's off-road. But either way, we're gonna add 2 more windows at the top, 2 triangles. In between those 2 doors, you're gonna see a sliding double, you know, like a double glass door in the center there. We're gonna make that whole wall real shiny glass. It's gonna be beautiful. And then over here, you'll see a window above this one for a bedroom, one over there for a bedroom, and then we'll go from there. One thing that we regret on this build is this building had a door off center from the center of the building. Whatever, there's gonna be a huge double-decker deck, which let me show you what AI drew up for me, and I think we're gonna go with something very similar. So yeah, that section's gonna have plenty of glass and plenty of windows there. And then on the side, we'll have a few more on the upper section as well. But yeah, we got a lot to do. So let me go inside one more time and we'll wrap this up. So yeah, in the last 24 hours, it's been a heck of a project. We actually have these windows framed in okay. I mean, I still have to add the triangles up here. The center window here, well, I mean the sliding door, which I'll show you that. That's a whole nother beast. But yeah, we're gonna decide if we're gonna put anything up top above the door and go from there. But the whole goal is capture that view. The view is beautiful, as you saw previously, and I'll wrap it up with that view again. But this project is gonna be a fun one. We got a lot to finish up, but until next time, thank you for joining Just a Guy DIY.